And today we're going to talk to you and share with you 7 essential steps for adult survivors of childhood sexual abuse. And it impacts every part of us, so it's really important that we begin to take our recovery from childhood sexual abuse one step at a time. So one of the first things we want to do is establish safety. And that means that we prioritise creating a safe environment around us, but also physically and emotionally, we feel safe within ourselves. It's actually about feeling safe inside of myself, and that's related to I feel connected within myself, so then I'm able to chart the course that I want to go on in this present moment. If I get that sense that I don't feel safe, then as an adult, I'm able to say, okay, there's a disconnect happening for me internally. I'm going to address the situation that's in front of me as an adult. The person that's standing there next to you or with you or talking to you is an adult also. Do I need boundaries? Do I need to speak up? It's a really big thing for us to speak up and say what we need. Do you need to identify what you need? I don't feel safe all the time. This is about doing our recovery work so that we're connected internally. And if that sense of unsafe comes up, we can go, right, I need to work out how I want to address the situation in front of me. Part of that is rebuilding trust internally within ourselves. When I studied the neuroscience myself, how am I ever going to be able to trust that I can make a healthy decision in regards to relationships again? That's when I realised that I need to be able to trust myself. When I'm rebuilding trust internally for me, it meant that I had to begin making conscious decisions. So listening to my thoughts, feeling my emotions, and then saying, this decision I'm about to make, what will happen 5 steps after I make this decision? When we know to ask that question, it begins to become easier to make decisions because we're like, I know what's going to happen 5 steps after this. I can say, sit down and write it all out, talk it over with my complex trauma coach, therapist, counsellor, whoever, and make sure that I'm seeing anything that I don't know that I'm not seeing. Because one of our challenges with complex trauma is we don't know what we don't know. Working with somebody who's actually walked the recovery pathway helps us feel confident to say, look, this is what I've seen so far. Is there something you can't see that I need to do? Now that builds trust and connection and will help with attachment wounds as well. So we want to process trauma. There is lots of different ways that you can process the trauma with sexual abuse. However, I've learned that one of the best ways to do it is to begin to identify what I need and then learn how to put that into my life. If we continue to go over the emotions, that's where we stay stuck because of what's happened in our brain. If I can sit down and say, well, I don't know how to do this. I literally don't know how to go about talking to a guy or an employer or what to bring. What sort of plate do you want? It's a whole different way of looking at doing recovery, and it helps us gain confidence in who we are, which is such an important part of our recovery. Cultivating self-compassion. Out in the big wide world on social media, there is a lot of information around, and it's saying that you need other people in your life to be filled with compassion. We all need that. What we need is to develop compassion within ourselves. Think about your inner critic. Is your inner critic running on high volume? If so, ask yourself the question, would I treat somebody else the way I'm treating myself? That's when you'll be able to begin to start compassion. And what does compassion feel like to me? We want to reconnect with our body. Now, one of the things, I've done this pathway for many years, and one of the things that I came to experience is reconnecting with my body actually required me to go on the journey of healing my brain. Our brain drives all the regulated systems, all the systems in our body. So therefore, we've got to work on healing the brain. And in order to get back into my body, I had to learn how to bring it all together. There are things that happen at the brain level with complex trauma that until we begin to heal neurologically, we don't ever get to the point where we can connect internally. So it's not just about externally, I'm here in this moment. It's helping all the trauma come into a space of alignment, but it's released today. It's like your heart brain, your gut brain, and your brain all come into the now, and I could feel it all just connect. And when it connected internally, I knew that the sexual abuse side of things, the impact on my spirit, my soul, myself, each part of the brains, everything had come together at last. Does that mean the brain still doesn't get triggered? No, not at this point, because I continue to step into spaces where I'm doing new things. If I just sat at my desk each day and did the work that I'm doing now, then I wouldn't get triggered. The brain wouldn't get triggered because it knows what I'm doing. But the brain gets triggered when we do new things because it has no working memory. This is the simplest way. It has no working memory of experiences, either myself or witnessing those experiences of the areas that I'm going into now, especially with the business and also with sexual abuse recovery. When we get to the stage where we're like, okay, I know I've done the recovery work that I need, and now it's time to step out into the world, into different types of relationships with people I don't know, as opposed to I have a great quantity of people that I do know now, that I've built into my life. It's like having to learn how to do relationships all over again. And it's challenging, but as I said earlier on, we can learn it. Once we know that we don't know, then we can go and learn it. Our voice needs empowering. One of my catchphrases that I don't use often enough is the silence has to cease. And I believe that so strongly that it actually gets me out here and out of shyness, because I really believe that we have walked through this life and not been able to express ourselves. And not being able to express ourselves in relationships and not known that we didn't know how to express ourselves. And in order to show this to yourself for you, next time you feel you're in a relationship and things are like, what would you call that? Like clogged up, like either you get angry or you shut down. And you get to that stage where you know, if I talk, it's not going to mean anything. But what we want to do is ask ourselves in that moment, what do I need? Now, it takes a lot of work to answer that question initially. What do I need within me? Can I feel it? Can I sense it? Do I know it? And as we go through that process, we then go, well, now that I know what I need, can I speak up about it? And then that's the next challenge. But these are the areas where we need to learn how to speak up for ourselves and how to communicate in ways that are effective for our relationships too. My youngest son actually came to me a few years ago now and said to me, Mum, when you were bringing us up, you taught us always to talk our problems through. So if they were having problems with each other, I have 3 now adult children, I always made them sit down, talk it out, say what's happening, apologies if needed. And he said, but you never do the same with us, as in, obviously I apologise, but I never say if I'm upset. Well, I never used to say if I'm upset and what's happening internally for me. And I didn't even realise that that's what I wasn't doing. So as adults, they've been great for me because they say, you need to tell us what's going on. So it actually, when that moment that he said that, I burst into tears because I said, nobody in my entire life has ever asked me when I've been upset like that, what's happening for you? Let's talk about it. And it was such a powerful moment that I realised that we can talk, we can connect, but are we really talking about what's upsetting us internally? And sometimes that's when we do need to see professionals. I've seen professionals over the years on and off, especially the last lot was to do with bits of recovering from sexual abuse, childhood sexual abuse. And it helps to talk it over with somebody to see if it actually sounds good coming out of our own mouth. Does this sound right? I think the last time I went, time ago now, maybe 5 years or more, I actually went because I had so much emotional turmoil internally, but I didn't know if the situation actually warranted all the emotional turmoil I was going through. So sometimes we just need to check in with somebody outside of the circumstances to see if we've got an understanding of what's happening. Are we being treated in a healthy manner, and so forth. Develop a support network. Now, I know that when we hear that, some of us can go, but I'm all alone. And look, I understand. I've been to that space. I've been to the space where I absolutely lost everyone and everything and had no one, literally. And it's incredibly painful. One of the things that I came to start doing was, this is actually when I couldn't talk, I got into Facebook groups and would just type because I was able to communicate that way. The bare minimum is that you can begin to create your own support network. Now, depending where you're at recovery, that support network may look like a number of professionals, and that's a starting point. So you want to start where you're at. And then for me, then I went into groups outside that I attended, and then COVID hit, which just knocked all my social life sideways, well, for all of us. But the recovery has been longer for me to get back into groups, mainly because my internal recovery meant that I had to start learning how to honour what I could and couldn't do. And now I'm actually signed up to go to groups, to go to professional meetings and getting back into it. So don't be surprised if it's hard, because it is. And we can also reach out for professional help as well. I hope this helps you understand how hard recovery from childhood sexual abuse is. And I hope that you reach out to get help that you need, and don't wait. Now, there are things that I have available because I've been through this. Now, in the resource library, which I'll link down below, there is a sexual abuse recovery course, and there is my Authentic Self course. So these are courses that go over weeks, and then it's got lots of other recovery books and information and links and lots of stuff. And it's inexpensive. So what you can do is take that information, take it to your professional that you're working with, or just do it yourself, depends where you're at, and get them to help you walk through each bit. And that makes the whole recovery process easier, quicker, because you're not sitting there week after week wondering, what is it that I don't know? It's great to be back with you, and thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.